That is the most likely outcome. Democrats do have a pretty clear path to the 23 seats they need in the House. Everything is kind of moving in their direction there. Senate, much harder with all the red state Democrats who are up for re-election in states that Trump won. They could, if there's a real blue wave, take both. I would say most likely Democrat House, Republican Senate. I don't think that means a ton for markets in the economy. I think it means gridlock in the next Congress. I don't think that's a terrible thing traditionally for markets. And it means that, tax cuts stay where they are, regulation stays where it is. It's not going to be a wave of new stuff for the economy, and maybe some more oversight over tariffs.
Yeah, and that's interesting, Heather. I would think that if the Democrats do take the House, that the idea of a second version of tax reform or tax cuts or the making permanent of those individual tax cuts would probably not proceed, right?
You're spot on. That would be absolutely dead. I think what would happen if the likely scenario plays out with the House going to the Democrats and the Senate staying in Republican hands is you'll trade, infrastructure, and immigration. A lot of people forget that the Democrats have actually been some of the strongest supporters of the president and his trade policies, particularly against China. So there may be an emboldening of going after China if the Democrats do take back the House or more. Similarly, on infrastructure, I sometimes hear people say, wait, but the Democrats and the White House are far apart on infrastructure. That's actually not true anymore. The key architects of the White House infrastructure plan, Gary Cohn and DJ Gribbin, have both left. And they were the ones pushing that notion of spending $200 million and trying to leverage it through public-private partnerships. The president now is a lot closer to the Democrats in wanting to potentially spend a lot of money, up to $1 trillion, on an infrastructure plan. So we could see some movement there.
But as Heather just mentioned, on immigration, that would be a contentious point, I would think, if the Democrats control the House.
It would be very contentious. I mean, they would be pushing back. Wall funding it would be dead. I mean, it's really troubled now. And I think on infrastructure, in theory, Heather's absolutely right. Democrats are closer to Trump than a lot of people know. Trump is willing to spend a ton of federal money. Democrats like that. But Democrats do not want to give Donald Trump any big wins on anything between 2018 and 2020. They're not going to join hands with him, sing kumbaya, and pass a big infrastructure bill and let him go campaign on it. Forget about it.
What do we think, Ben, about what's going to happen with this next round of tariffs? Are we looking at tariffs coming in, but at a 10% level as opposed to 25%?
That's where we start. Trump loves 25. He likes big numbers. He wants to go to 25, so I think we could get there. And that eventually is 25% tariffs on everything that China exports to the United States. Consumers will feel it. I don't care if he exempts Apple Watches. He's not going to exempt everything, and people are going to pay higher prices right around the holiday season. They're not going to like that.
Heather, when we talk about the idea that the economy could be at risk here, we know that it will be a huge factor going into these midterm elections. What is it that can happen for either Republicans or Democrats in these 50 days to make the strongest case for why they belong in charge of the legislative branch of our government?
There's probably not a lot on the economy that can happen at this point. Most research indicates that people formulate their economic views about 6 months out before an election comes. So people are either feeling better or worse. As we showed in the Washington Post, there is a rise in blue-collar jobs have been coming back at the fastest rate since 1984. So in some communities, the job growth may tip the scales a little bit towards the Republicans. But as most even GOP strategists admit, this election isn't about economics. It's really about Donald Trump.